You know what they say? They say the majority of people don't plan to fail. They fail to plan.
Exactly.
And if you go back and you look at some of your friends, I know I'm an older cat, and I can look at some of mine. I can look at myself, and I noticed that a lot of the times where I failed in life was because I had no plan. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted you to talk to my audience, because you are a young man that is having a plan A and a plan B. And I tell people, and plan B is good. I mean, if you think she's pregnant, but I'm just saying.
That is right.
I'm just saying. If it felt wrong, here you go.
I know that's right.
But if you think about it in life, we have to not only have a plan B, we need a C,
exactly,
a D,
exactly,
and an E. Because again, we go back to 300 Hall of Fame. 70% you fail. If you don't have these other plans, if you don't have that idea of today in baseball, there were days where I knew I didn't have it, but I knew I could still bunt, and I knew I could.
Yes.
So I had to do something different on that day where I did not have it.
There it is.
How do you, as a young man, you've gotten to that point, and I talk more about this second life that you're wanting to lead, which is coaching and teaching people. How do you get that across as a coach? Because guys, you got to understand, this guy's hype. This guy's really about teaching other people, and I love his energy. So I want to hear him explain to you how he would get you to motivate to be this person to say, I want to do more than just what I can do, because today I'm not good at that. How do you motivate people to understand, if they're well-rounded, that they can always be an asset in life?
Well, the first thing that I ask, which I've actually never come across somebody. I've coached many people thus far, and the question I start out with is, do you deserve more? And when and people they sit there,
take them back for a second,
and they take them back, and I can see the wheels move, and I can see them, like when the wheels start turning and the eyes go down, you can see and feel the hurt that they went through when they say, do I deserve more? And then sometimes people say, well, yeah. And I'm saying, no, I really want you to take the time to think about it. Ask yourself that question. Do you deserve more? And when they really do let that sink in, they'll look at me and say, yeah, I do. Well, when you realize that you deserve more, you will do more. You will create more. You will think more. But see, sometimes we get so wrapped up into the speed of life. Life will speed us up so much, the sun will come up, we'll do the same thing, we'll go to sleep, and then nothing was done because nothing was planned. All you got to do is start to seriously take about 5 to 10 minutes. I would say 10 minutes of your day at the beginning or right before you go to sleep, and plan your day. If you would just dedicate 2015 or any year coming up to planning out your day, you will consistently move towards your goals at a faster speed, because now you have there's no wasted energy.
Amen.
There's no wasted energy. I read in the book, it said, he that is everywhere is nowhere. So if you're one of these people that's everywhere all the time, you actually you ain't moving.
Jack of all trades.
You ain't moving nowhere. He that is everywhere is nowhere. Plan your days accordingly, and all your energy will be spent moving in one direction, and that's towards your goals and dreams.
So how do we get out of this schizophrenic thought? Because many of us do that. I wake up some mornings, and it's a paralysis by analysis. I woke up some mornings like, man, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. By 2 o'clock, I ain't done nothing. I realized I just spent a whole day and done shit. But I'm like, why did this happen? Because I had so much on my plate. It's kind of like it had been a buffet. You have so much on your plate, you cannot concentrate, you don't get to none of it. How do you get people who think they have plan A to Z, because those are the people who are everywhere and they're nowhere. How do you get them to focus on, I'm not hitting today, let me not even try to go up and do that. Let me play the field. Let me run the bases. How do you get people to be honest? Because the biggest thing is you have to be honest enough to say where you're not good at that day.
Honest.
How do you get people to recognize
I think
that?
one of two things. The first thing that screams at me is you have to prioritize. And that goes in part with planning. Prioritize. You got to prioritize what's important, what's urgent, what needs to be addressed now. Because what happens is we as people fail to plan the correct way. So we'll put, that's almost like having two bins. You bring in the mail, the stuff that has to be paid at the end of the month will be mixed in with the stuff that has to be paid now. And if you put them collective in one bin, some stuff will get missed.
See, he trying to tell y'all about my business. I didn't need my business out there. I told them people I'm going to get them the money.
Exactly. And if you don't stop, they're going to staple it to your forehead.
They give you that call, sir. I know.
It's in here somewhere. Here it is. But it just like I said, it goes back to you have to prioritize. If I'm telling you, don't just plan and write it out. Fall in love with the planning. Because people say, all right, you know what? I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna get a piece of paper out. Hand me that pencil over there. All right, today, no. Really believe that you deserve more. Because when you take this and mix it with this, you're really going to fall in love. You ain't going to be hungry no more. You're going to sit right there at that table and you're going to say, you know what? I'm tired of my current situation. I'm going to plan this out. Matter of fact, give me a highlighter. We're going to make this look good. I'm going to say my new life, and then I'm going to put it in bold. Matter of fact, give me a new sheet of paper because it's not. You got to fall in love with yourself again. See, a lot of people get complacent and content because the next point is, what you hang around is what you become. Some people say, I'm motivated, I'm this and I'm that. But I'm like, who do you hang around? Who's pushing you? Who's pushing you? Well, I really don't have no friends. Okay, well, but you just raised your hand and said, I believe that whatever you hang around is what you become. Well, if you're hanging around nothing, then what are you?
Uh-oh. And this could be physically nobody there or physically a bunch of nothing.
Exactly. If you hang around nothing, like
it can happen. I've been there.
Hey, that's both nothing.
I do it with you.
Exactly.
Ain't nothing.
I say all the time. I said in my coaching one day. She said, sometimes you get people that at first, the first stage of my coaching, you're getting to know people and they become somewhat defensive about their situation. And well, wait a minute, you don't really know me like that. Let me explain. And I let them explain, and I just listen. And then I tell them in the most calmest way, okay, so out of your friends, tell me your top 5 friends. All right, okay, we have 5 friends. Let's just make these up. You have Amy, Rebecca, Stacy, Jill, and let's say Ashley. Okay. All of these people, we're going to use math, and we're going to do simple math here. So 5, she's a 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 0. All right? 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 0 equals what? 0.
Yeah, once you throw that 0 in there.
Exactly. So now here we go. Hey, look, that's scholarship worthy, right?
Georgia Tech ain't no punk.
PEMDAS. We remember PEMDAS.
My dude.
PEMDAS. But no matter what numbers you put in front, once you multiply by 0, you get 0. And that's what people have. They go to battle for their friends and say, I hang with 4 that are just absolutely stellar individuals, but that last person that you associate your time with is a nothing, so therefore you are only as strong as the weakest person in your group. How many times have we heard that?
How is it that so many people like to, because in what I talk about, and you guys know this, what I talk about is how a lot of our women will associate with the ratchet chicks, even if they ain't ratchet, like they'll defend the hell out of them. And I'm like, why are you, you're not all, and I'm like, but why are you defending this person? You say you're not like this person, but you're defending them like you are. Where does that mentality come from? Because I know a lot of people, in your position, athletes, they will bring the guys who they know shouldn't be with them. And those people will be their downfall. Why is it we feel this Nurse Nightingale thing where we want to save that group?
Wow, and it's sad because you see it every day. You see it every day. You see it in your own circle. You see it in your families. You see it at the job. I think, and I pretty much know that, they got a song out, Day One, A1. See, people really believe that just because they were there when you were there back in the day, they think that they must continue to ride the journey with you. People change. You change, and you're hoping to change. But if they're not willing to change with you, just because they're your day one, don't make them your A1. And people give, instead of them, pulling their pants up and say, I got to make an executive decision for my life, they continue to use, well, they've always been there for me, but that don't mean that they got to continue to ride the rest of the way.
Isn't that kind of what happens in relationships as well? Like, say, dating. There are a lot of people who haven't realized that they've outgrown their partner.
Exactly.
When you talk about moving to this new stage in life and being able to have a new plan even while you're chasing your dream, if you're in a relationship, how do you do that? Say if you're dating someone and you're in your dream, but in 5 years I'm going to be here. But this person's content where we are. I'm trying to get out of it because we've all been somewhere and we're like, I'm all right with this, but I'm probably not going to be doing this 3 years. But that person, that's their life. How do you know that you're about to do this? And how do you plan for that?
Well, see, one thing that I would go from in that situation is, of course, things is a little bit more tender when love is involved or when you're in a serious relationship. More so, though, than friends. Because, love, that bond of love is something that's hard that you just can't say, oh, I got to go. But one thing that I like to coach is that it's something that has to be progressively worked on towards your goals or our goals. See, if we're gonna role play this thing, I'm gonna let you be. Let's say I don't want to give you a ratchet name. I was gonna say, I can't even say it. I don't want nobody to have it, so we're just gonna say. We're just gonna
Person
say, A. Person A is a female because I was gonna say a name and I didn't want to get no email.
Somebody who's watching it. Yeah.
Exactly. But we're gonna say I'm dating person A right here. I bring to the table my dreams and goals. See, and this is where it gets tough. When you have something that you know deep down in your heart that you are passionate about, that is positive. That's the most important thing. Is it positive? Is it something that can change us for the better? Do you really feel deep down inside that this move could help us? Or does this new job, can this really help us? Do you see it hurting us or helping us? And when you bring it to the table, is your partner willing to compromise? Are they willing to talk you through it? Are they willing to say, hey, well, let's look at it from this angle? Or are they just shutting it down because they're content with what works for them?
Because I said to a woman today, you tell me, you're just giving me some advice. This is a brother doing his job right now, helping me. I said to a woman today, I like dealing with you. You got the whole package. But in 4 years, I'm probably going to be running for Senate and I can't be married to you. I can't be with you. I can't be with you. You want the bad girl club.
Yes.
I can't be with you like that.
Yes.
Was it wrong for me to say that, or should I say it knowing that maybe the person will change? And could the person possibly just be changing in order to please me for the moment? Like, how do you do that? Do I just go about it and just keep on doing what I'm doing and saying, I know I'm going to dump this person in a couple of years and then kind of leading them on if I don't say it? Or was I right for just saying, you're all right for now, but where I'm going, you're not going, and I don't think I can take you with me? What's the best way to handle that?
I think you're in the driver's seat in that situation. We're all grown. We both know what we want at this point. We both know what we want, and we both know what we need. Because those are two different things that you got to be able to plan accordingly.
What about adding in what we bring?
Exactly. What
everybody
you bring
because you got some homeboys, all they bring is weed. No. All they bring is weed. I don't need that. I can't
what
really
you bring
buy
to
it.
the table too, because sometimes what you bring mixed with what she brought could be a problem.
There you go.
Exactly. So are you the solution to her problem, or vice versa?
The problem?
And is she not the solution?
That's right.
Well, it just, like you said, it goes back to, it starts off with, of course, the dating, and you get to know people, and you get to see the direction that it's going in. And when the direction starts to go off, you'll kind of get that feeling, like you said, like, I can see that this is just temporary right now. This is just temporary. Because I can't see myself growing with this individual. But see, this is when you do, I call it the little test that you do. You know, you go out to a nice little restaurant or whatever your pockets may lead you to go. And once you sit down at the booth, you know, just say, hey, you know what, I got a couple questions that I want to talk to you. I want to ask you. And you bring out some of the questions like, you know, hey, if you never talked about it before, hey, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Just, you know, because sometimes we get away from those. We get so wrapped up in the curves and the smell good that we forgot.
I get wrapped up in that.
Hey, listen, we forgot about 1, 2, 3 ABC.
Yep.
We on date number 55, and I'm like, hey, your last name is it's not Velvet. This you know.
I've literally dealt with a girl for about a year and didn't even know how to pronounce her name.
But we get distracted. I wouldn't even say it was on purpose. You get distracted sometimes. But I think at that point, like you said, at that point you should ask. You should have some questions ready to just see. And then once you ask those questions and they're not what you want, then you know. You'll know right then and there for yourself. Because if you might have somebody that might not be for you right now, but once the questions are asked, you will be like, she's working. She's gotten a lot better. She's gotten a lot better. Oh, I can see that she might be not where I want her to be now, but I can see the growth in her. And I can see the future that, oh, man, we might be able to meet at a point later on in life. So this might be something that I can hold on to. You know, those questions will be able to say yes or no.
What advice can you give people who they didn't do the planning, but now they have to deal with the result? They have to deal with the fact that now they have a kid with a dude that ain't crap. Now they have a job that fired them, and they have no skill that's actually, there's a lot of people out there, I know people went to college 6 years, got a degree, and that degree, people don't even work in that field anymore, and they're like looking for work. What do you have for those people who didn't plan, and now they're looking at the cliff, and they're right at the edge? How do you pull them back and give them some direction, some drive to still be able to go to that plan B and C and D, but they have to do it in a hurry?
Exactly. Well, at the end of the day, nobody should really, like, here's the best thing I can say. A wise man told me, a coach told me, once you stop dreaming, you're done. No matter how old you are, where you come from, once you stop dreaming, you're done. Now, granted, if you're over the hill and you think your dreams is to be in the NFL, then I'm sorry to tell you that ain't happening. Although you could possibly coach, or they need some janitors for the clubhouse.
You have to modify your dreams.
Yeah, sometimes you might have to. But I really took that to heart that day that he told me, when you stop dreaming, you're done. Just because plan A didn't work don't mean plan B can't give you what plan A should have.
But how do they come up with the deal?
How do you come?
Because they were ones who only had one-track mind. You got some buddies that had one-track minds. They knew they were going to be wherever they were going to be and work.
It always goes back to your success circle. Because if you are my friend and we're both progressively working towards higher and higher heights, and you bring that question to the table, I'm going to sit right here as your friend that is moving on to say, hey, well, this is what you need to do. Go to monster.com. You know, let's start there. You know what? I have a guy that this happened to him. Call this person. See, you have people in place. And that's what goes back to who you hanging around. See, if you're hanging around a bunch of zeros, a bunch of people that's just chilling at home, are you hanging around people that are just giving up on life? How are you supposed to gain the motivation? See, we're all human. You know, I might be on top of the world and I might be the man with all the answers right now, but just because I hang around you, so now when I'm at my low point in life, you can pick me up by saying, hey, brother, this is what we're doing. This is what we're going to continue to do. Hey, man, pick yourself up. Because remember when you did that for me? And I'm like, you know what? Let's go. You know, let's keep sending out them applications. Let's get on the internet. Let's utilize this tool because we got to get you back on the horse. So it starts with who you're hanging around. And then next thing you will say, what else am I good at? What else? You know, you got to ask yourself,
that's the question.
What else am I good at? Like, I know that I wasn't put on this earth to only be an engineer. That might not work. Somebody else said I can draw real well. Somebody else said that I have a creative mind for graphic design. So maybe let me go into that industry.
But those are two things that many of us don't have. One, the capacity to be honest with ourselves, and two, people around us who have the capacity to be honest with us. How do we realize and recognize the circle that we're around? Because when you're LeBron James, everybody that hang around you is just going to tell you you're great.
Is true.
And they will never tell you you probably shouldn't do that.
That is true.
Because they don't even think they have the gravitas to do so.
That is true. I would say I did a segment on YouTube called Evaluating Your Friends. Evaluating your friends. Put their names down. Put positive at the top, negative at the top. See what they bring to the table. Put it down, because sometimes you can just, if you've never done it, I even encourage you to do that with your circle. I've done it one day, and I was able to put
My circle's like a dot.
well, right, positive, negative, and on the left, put dot. Put dot. And see what dot brings to the table. But I was able to do that with because my circle is relatively small, so you got to have a small circle. You can't hang around everybody. But I actually did that, and I put the word funny down so much as a positive, because I really never took the time to evaluate who I was hanging around. That the paper don't lie. The paper ain't gonna lie. If you want to know who you hang around, put it on paper, and you'll see the negatives were piling up. They always procrastinated. Yep. They had low self-esteem, so therefore those traits were coming on to me. I didn't believe that I could do it because I was hanging around people that didn't believe in me. So now I was adopting traits, and I didn't even know it.
I literally talked about that last night when I did my live broadcast. I was talking about the idea of, I was starting to realize a lot of people I was hanging around was, if I didn't do it, it didn't get done. So they're not motivating me at all. I'm motivating myself.
Yes.
Like, isn't it cool to have that friend that's like go to college days, when you had that college classmate who he always got up on time. You hated getting up in the morning, but he always got up on time. And because he always got up, it motivated you to get up even when you didn't want to.
Yes.
Or you got the, but when we played baseball, you remember, well, you still do it. When I played baseball in college, I remember getting up at 4 in the morning running. I didn't want to do that.
Yes.
And then I remember I had a white dude played on the team with me, Chris. Chris not only would get up, and this was in Georgia, so sometimes we'd run in December. It'd be cold. Chris would put on a sweater and a pair of shorts. He'd be out there running. These white people crazy.
Crazy.
Next thing I know.
They still.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They still nuts. But I still remember, I was like, next thing I know, I'm doing it too.
Yes.
And I would have never been motivated to do that had I continued to hang around my Georgia friends who did such thing.
Yes.
And I noticed that now, if you don't change your circle is going to change you.
That's deep. That's deep right there. Let that sink in. If you don't change your circle will change you. If you don't change your circle will become you. And that's deep. Who are you hanging around? And that's really what starts everything. Donald Trump said it. Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill said it. Les Brown. Everybody that has become a success, everybody that has become something that people look up to in life had to change the people that they hung around.
Amen.
That's what had to go. And I've actually, the number one question that some of your viewers might be thinking about is, okay, well, I understand that I got to change my circle, but what happens when your circle is your family? Like, you can't just take mom and dad and just give them the boot and say,
you don't want to ask me.
You know.
I done had to tell several family members, don't call me no more.
How you get?
You know, I had to hit him with it. Because I said exactly what you just said. The most difficult thing, and I've had people say it to me now, but that's your brother. Yes. But that's your cousin.
Yes.
Where does this DNA tie come from that we have? And it's really predominantly in us as black people. White people will divorce their parents and go through a whole court system.
He was holding me back. From what? My inheritance.
You know what I'm saying?
He got to go.
It took him too long. He kept hanging on.
Oh,
they told me he was going to die in 93. It's 2015.
He's stopping me from moving on with my life. I've been trying to move to Cali. He got to go.